This morning, I want to talk to you about something that's very, very important. No, it's not the Super Bowl. Something more important to our day-to-day lives than that, and I know you can't imagine that there's anything more important than that. There is something very crucial to our lives and the day-to-day journey and our great success. Because I'm always here as your coach, trying to coach you, cheer you on as a pastor, to support you in the journey of achieving your highest and best. Because we believe that's the unfolding of the goodness of God for our journey. To be there, living in this place where we are the child of God, shining, radiating the light of God, living that highest and best. What am I going to talk to you about? Faith. That's right. Because I firmly believe that Jesus wanted us to create a church, to unfold a church that was filled with faith-filled believers. Now, today's churches can be filled with all kinds of people who've come to church for a variety of reasons. There are those who've come as the socializers. They will say, I come to church just to hang out with friends, to socialize, connect with my buddies, my pals, my good friends. I love to go out to lunch and dinner with them afterwards. That's why I come. There are others who would say, I come because I'm just terrified and I'm afraid. And I come looking for that some sort of peace, and yet I may be finding even more fear brought to me in that religious environment. Fear that tries to move me, manipulate me, try to get me to do something. There are others who come to church that may say just a great sense of community. And community and all these things, the community and socialization can be wonderful for our lives. But you know you can find community at a lot of places. Some of you will find community tonight at your Super Bowl party. I know some of you are going to find community at all kinds of places. So we know that just to say I come to church for community, there's got to be something more for our reason for existence. Jesus just doesn't say come and gather as a club. He said, go ye into all the world to be a light, to have a purpose, to be faith-filled in such a way that you are a radiant being that is transforming the world as your life is transformed. This is foremost what Jesus was about. So that is the reason we're talking today, because in a world of fearful doubters, questioners, and wonders, they're tossed all around and they're kind of adrift. Several years ago, I was on a cruise. We had the opportunity to go snorkeling. Very excited about it. We had landed in Belize. We got on board this boat, loaded with tourists, headed out to the reef. Going to spend some quality time snorkeling on one of the world's finest reefs. Just thrilled about the journey, and we're way out in the distance from shore, and the engine caught on fire. Now, something about me tells me that, a fire on a boat is not always a good thing. And, we're now suddenly stalled in the midst of the waves and the waters, and the clouds begin to form, and the sky begins to change, and the wind begins to come up, and the boat is being tossed to and fro, and suddenly we're adrift, heading away from the shore. That thing that we're looking out and saying, I think we need to go that way. And there were those who got out and tried to paddle and paddle and paddle and paddle, and the waves kept carrying us in another direction. Something about it, we were just being tossed to and fro as the boat just kind of had to surrender to the power of the waves around them. And in the moment, shall we say the nick of time, because it was getting late and the storm and the wind was coming up and the rain, and all of a sudden the engine kicked in. They put the fire out, they got it working and up and running, and suddenly the boat began to move in a new direction and began to move with a source of energy flowing behind it. We began to choose the direction we wanted to go and set our own speed. This is what Jesus taught. Not how to put out boat fires, although that may have good advice too, but how to set our direction with a holy push, a holy energy, a divine energy called faith, the power of our believing. He taught us the energy of faith to propel our life in the direction that you choose, that you desire to go into. That faith is the power of the believing, that you say, I want to go this way, but the waves of the world are pushing me this way, but I know in the power of my faith I can, and I'm moving in that wonderful direction. For all things are working together for good for me, says Scripture. And we claim that. That's the power that is called for our lives that we're called to live in. We understand that it wasn't a faith that Jesus spoke about, a faith in him. Jesus wasn't that arrogant to say, oh no, it's all about me. That's not the spirit of Jesus that he taught him. He said, if you believe in me, but to believe in someone is to believe in their word, their example, their teaching, their way of living, to have faith. He exemplified and showed us the example. He said, I am the way, I am the example for you. This is how you can live and find that victory that you seek in your life. This is how you'll have the energy, the power of believing at work within you. So, as we learn this, we understand the question of our life is the energy of faith at work in your life now? Or are you adrift? Are you wondering? Is the world pushing you roundabout? Do you know your direction? Do you have the faith to believe? So I might ask it in simpler terms, is your motor running? Turn to the person next to you and ask them, is your motor running? This power of faith at work within you. Is it working in your life? You know? Is that motor running in you? That's going to set you in the direction that you desire to go. And some of you may say, well, kinda. Sometimes I have faith. Sometimes today, not so much some other times when I'm more challenged. But let me tell you this, when it comes to faith, it's kind of like being pregnant. You either are or you aren't. You know? There's no middle ground there. It takes this simple I believe statement to be at work in our life. That's a simple thought. Simple as it may be, like a grain of mustard seed, Scripture's referred to. Something very small, you might think, insignificant, but just that thought that says, I believe, can set you in motion. I believe, and fill in the blank. What is it you believe? But that little thought can set you in motion just like that tiny grain of mustard seed Jesus used as an example. You see that in that mustard seed was the dynamic power to bring forth an incredible plant that would bring shade where birds might land upon, for that mustard seed would develop something amazing and powerful, and how beautiful that could be for our lives if we just understood the power of just proclaiming in every moment, I believe. It's an energy that moves us. It's an energy that propels us. For one of the greatest things we can do is to talk to ourselves, speak it out loud, I believe. I kind of advocate talking to yourself, you know? I think there's something powerful about it. You may think, you know, Pastor, that's kind of crazy. Because sometimes, you know, I get caught talking to myself and people think, you know, well, just pretend like you're on a cell phone or you've got one of those earplugs, you know? You know, you see these people in the grocery store all the time having conversations with people as they're moving down the aisle, and you think they're talking to you, but they're really not. They're on a phone. So if you need to, just talk to yourself. And if you have to, pretend like you're on your cell phone. Yes, I believe. Yeah. Okay, later tonight, I believe. Yeah, I'll be there, 5 o'clock. I believe. But just getting that momentum going that we begin to proclaim that which we hold dear as our faith, a power within us, and then fill in that blank, because there's something amazing when you live your life as a believer. You are finding something within it that you're professing that just begins to ignite this wonderful, holy power within you. Because let me tell you, faith is something that needs to be cultivated and consistent. Cultivated? It's kind of like, you know, do you ever build a campfire and you want to get this roaring fire going, and then you don't tend to it for a couple of hours? It's gone down, and it's just little embers, and then you fall asleep, and the next morning it's gone out, and you're back at square one trying to reignite that fire because you didn't cultivate it. Tend to it. Faith requires that we spend some time working it, tend to it. So you can't just, well, I believed 20 years ago. Isn't that enough? You know, I believed for something miraculous when I was 12. Isn't that good enough? Even though that was yesterday for some of us, right? It's really a power within us that has to be cultivated and consistent. It's like the engine in your car keeps firing, but then there's the case when you've got an engine that keeps sputtering and cuts out on you, and you're not getting anywhere, right? So it's that cultivated and consistent faith that you're working on that enables you to understand that this is your real nature. This is who you really are, your true nature. And I'm going to invite you, and I said this in our class, let's get natural. Not a la natural. I said, let's get natural. Let's go to the natural essence of who we are. Let's get back to that. Our natural essence is that we were created as great believers, great people of faith. As a little child, when you were born, you were a believer. You believed in a lot of things until mommy and daddy said, no, don't do that. Stop. You believed in things that you could do until someone started saying something other than that. It's like those parents who are constantly saying on the first day of school, honey, be safe, be careful, watch out. Why don't parents say, honey, take risks, be successful, go out there and take some challenges? No, because they're imparting this kind of fear that interrupts our growth and development of our faith. Because as little kids, we were like, yes, let me have it. I'm 2 and I got a diaper on and I'm ready to go and nothing's stopping me now. You see, there's great faith. And then you find, mommy said, no, you can't go there, you can't do this, don't do that, don't do this. All these limitations come on. And we learn that we are in a life and a lifestyle in a world that's kind of like stifling and interrupting the growth of our faith. But it's natural for you. I want to tell you that you need to awaken to what is so natural for you is that you are a spiritual being. Get this, hold this, embrace this. You're a spiritual being in a physical body. You're not a physical person trying to have a spiritual relationship. It's totally the other way around. Yet, so we are so accustomed to looking at the physical and relating to the physical all the time that all we think about is the physical. We've forgotten the spiritual, haven't we? We've forgotten that innately within us, our true nature is the divine within you. And how beautiful, and we need to live, speak, talk, and embrace from that perspective, not the physical perspective. Because we're holding on to the limitations of the world. Because this physical body, believe it or not, has some limitations to it. Once in a while, doesn't want to move as fast. Once in a while, doesn't want to go here or there as fast. It's got some limitations, but the Spirit is infinite and full of possibilities for our lives. And when we understand that, we need to shift our view. It's all in how you see yourself. Now, when you look in the mirror, you can look and say, ooh, limitations. Ooh, that's what I see. I'm bound by what I see here. I see lots of physical going on. And then we shift. And we see the eyes of the divine, and we realize the Spirit within me, the divinity within me, the power and presence within me, enables me to see that there are unlimited possibilities in how I might live out this day. I am not limited by the physical. I am living in the unlimited by the spiritual. And I can say that all I see is limitation, and when I'm doing that, all I'm saying is I'm seeing only what is literally in front of me. And that's very limiting. When we become literal in any way, we become limiting. Moving beyond the literal is enabling you to see the richer, the deeper, that which moves in beyond it. That's why when it comes to Scripture, we don't take it literally, we take it seriously. To look beyond, to find the depth of every passage, the inner meaning, the truth, the root down deep in that makes sense. Because there's a lot of passages you take literally, and they just don't quite grasp the truth that's there. What's that crazy passage? It's easier for a wealthy man it's harder for a wealthy man to enter into the kingdom of God than a camel to go through the eye of the needle. And we're like, eye of a needle and camel, and we just don't get it because we take everything so literally. We don't understand the truth, the power behind it. So there's an invitation to move beyond, because when we become literal, we're blinded by our limitations. and we become the blind leading the blind. We're looking at our limitations, and we lead one another in the spirit of limitations. We say, I'm limited, you must be limited too. We're all limited. Well, I guess we might as well just wrap it up because we're just so limited here. You know, there is no chance for us. But those who've opened up their spiritual eyes begin to see with a new 2020 vision that enables them to see possibilities. One view makes things so much easier and the other so much difficult. So much more difficult. Now, in this world, how many of you like to work harder? And how many would you like to work easier? Okay? Yeah? Right? Some of you, not all hands going up, so some of you would like to work harder, and you know that because you have lived the harder way of living, and that's living through the physical dimension. Constantly looking at your limitations, constantly believing this is all I have, I live in lack, I don't have more, I constantly profess all the limitations within me, and so consequently I am living the harder way of life. And with it comes fear. Those who fear, well, they look at, say, for instance, our nation, and they predict, oh, you don't know all the disaster that's ahead, and you hear conversations that say they live in the realm of the physical, and looking around, it's time for us to live in the spiritual and say, you know, all things are working together for good. All things. All things. Do you know what that means? That means everything. That means all things. So no matter what moment you're in, there is some good to work for you. And there's a reason for good unfolding. In the midst of what you may see as a difficult moment, it's time for us to shift our view. For faith, then, is this urge within us that says yes. Yes to all things. Yes to every experience. Yes, because I'm learning, I'm evolving. Yes, because something happened in my moment, in my life, in our nation, has happened for a reason. And let me tell you, everything happens for a reason. You're here, and there's a reason you're here. And when we acknowledge the reason for every moment of our life, we're acknowledging that the Spirit of God is moving in unique and wonderful ways in our lives. It's God's way of letting us know that, you know what, there's something moving in a beautiful way for us, and I'm allowing you to learn and experience. And when we have this kind of faith, that says, I welcome all things working together for good, it becomes like an urge, something within us. And I'm going to call it a holy push. Now, I have never given birth to a child, but I've been at the birth of both of my kids. And when I was 18, out in the wilderness of the jungles of Kenya, I delivered a baby, unbeknownst to what I was doing. I was there, and they looked to me and said, would you help with this delivery? Well, in every one of these moments, working with my wife or this woman in the wilderness, there was a moment where she wanted to push, I didn't quite understand what that was. Now, you who've given birth to a child, you know what that's about, and you would speak with more authority than I on that, but something within her said push. Now, she didn't see the baby. She didn't know where the baby, she knew where the baby was within, but didn't be able to see it. There was no evidence, but there was a holy push, you might say, a force that said, you know what, I need to do something. I'm feeling, I need to release, I need to let go, I need to push out. And in this sense, our faith is providing for us a holy push. Now, I'm not saying it's a force that we put on and we force of our own. It's a divine energy that pushes. It's not us manipulating. But I want to illustrate this in that wonderful way, because let me tell you this push that comes from the Spirit of God, this faith within you, it moves you forward. Not forcing you, but it's allowing. It's allowing something to come forth. It's allowing something to be birthed. It's a push of energy that works all things together for good when you walk in this kind of faith and this kind of believing. But I want to tell you that this faith is all about fear sometimes, and all about the balance of that, so it's not a negative or misplaced fear. Let me tell you this. In our lives, sometimes fear gets in the way of our power of our believing, and it holds back and hinders. I'm going to tell you this. You may want to birth something amazing in your life, but fear gets in the way. There's a study done in Norway. It looked at 2,206 women who were pregnant with a single baby. And in this study, the researchers looked at every one of these women and evaluated their weeks of pregnancy to understand a little bit more about the journey of pregnancy and how it unfolded in their lives, and found that 20% of the pregnant women are afraid of childbirth. They're frightened by it. And there's certain factors, of course, they're young, and this is the first time mom, and having a lack of support around them or history of abuse may contribute to their fears around this pregnancy. But those women who approached this delivery moment with some spirit of fear in their lives labored 22 minutes longer than the women who were not afraid. Interesting study, fear kind of held back that push, that moment within them, that movement forward that said, oh, I don't know, and they labored longer. And you may say, wow, 32 minutes. Talk to a pregnant woman in labor and tell me what 32 minutes, that's eternity. Men, talk to a woman, you'll understand even more when you say, 32 minutes, what? 32 minutes of this labor, this pushing, this shoving, this pain, this agony. Do you not realize how wonderful when you just release and you're allowing something to transpire within your heart and your life. You see, this fear prolongs pain. And this is so true in our lives. When we are living in the physical, we're afraid and we're frightened by our limitation. When we've let go of any kind of essence of the power of faith that work within our lives, we're scared. We're frightened by what's holding out what's happening tomorrow or even in this moment. And it prolongs our blessing. And we're working, laboring harder. You see, but good faith brings about peace and joy. It's a trust. All things are working together for good, and brings the joy back to your day-to-day living. And let me tell you this, if you've lost the joy, get back to ignite your faith. Your faith says, I believe. And in that believing, there's wonderful promise. And in those promises, there's great peace. And in that peace, there's great happiness. And in that happiness, there's a fulfillment of great joy in your life. And it just begins to spiral in wonderful ways in our lives when we are living out that divine. Because that fear can be a negative faith. And I see so many Christians claiming fear, speaking fear, words of fear. I'm afraid about this. I'm afraid about our future. I'm afraid about this. When did Christians become the authority on fear? I thought we were the authority on faith. Did Jesus go about and say, go ye forward and speak about your great fears, march in your fear, protest in your fear, go forth because we are people of fear? Not a single word. He said, you're people of faith. Move out in faith. I see these people giving glory to failure and strengthening worry and anxiety in our world today. I got pastors on Facebook who are saying, be afraid. Oh, you don't know what tomorrow holds. Oh, be afraid in our American government and our world today. And they're constantly, where did you become the minister of fear? And how? Because I want us to tell you that we've got to let go of looking to the physical and see in the spiritual and welcome that when we do, there's this wonderful realm of spirituality we live in that says everything is working together for good. And I'm going to tell you, how many times have you seen some scenario that you thought was your worst case scenario that when you look back at it, you found it was a key to unfolding your best? That means everything works together for good in our lives. You see, but this fear is this misplaced faith. It's a belief in the good and the bad, and sometimes we put more of the energy and the holy push, shall we say, into the bad. We put things into the bad. We put energy into the bad because we somehow believe in the good and the bad, and we want to serve two masters. I want to serve the bad, and I want to serve the good. Oh, and I'm pulled both ways. How can you serve two masters? The scripture says you can't. So you either serve the good or you serve the bad. There's no, I'm sometimes good, I'm sometimes bad. You're torn between that. You can't be moving forward in great faith. So you've got to let go of one or the other. So you either let go of the good and you live in fear, or you let go of the bad and you live in great hope and promise. and you believe that the good is there. And it's the power of your thoughts, the power of your faith, the power of your expressions, the power of your words. Let me tell you this. It's kind of like our thoughts, our beliefs are our currency to purchase what we want. Let's just say I gave you $1 million and you went to the mall. And you go to the first store and you're looking there and you're thinking, oh, I walk into the store and I see this beautiful outfit. Oh, it's ugly. It's not beautiful. I look at it and go, oh, I hate how it looks. It hangs horrible on the mannequin. It's disgusting. It would look horrible on me. Wrap it up, send it home. Then I'll go to the next shop. Oh, look, here's this lamp. Oh, but ugly. Are you kidding? I wouldn't have that in my house. Wrap it up, send it home, please. Oh, let's go over here, And we walk into the next store and we see something else that we look at and we think, oh, this is just a horrible piece of furniture. Oh, please send it home. Wrap it up. We're buying with our thoughts, and then we get home and we wonder, why do I have this ugly outfit in my house? And why do I have this ugly lamp and this ugly sofa? Oh, I bought it. I bought it with a currency that was given to me. What's your currency? Your thoughts. And your thoughts are buying a lot of stuff that you don't want. But you're spending it. And you're spending it every day. Thoughts of doubt, thoughts of fear. Let me buy some of that. Oh, thoughts of disappointment, thoughts of bad. Let me get some of that. I'd like to send it home. Wrap up that fear for me, would you? And that disappointment and this sadness and this uncomfortability and this fear. Yeah, package it all up. Send 2, why don't you, while you're at it? I'd like a matching set, please. Ship it on home. And then when we get home to the temple of the Lord, to the dwelling place, to the house of God right here in our lives, and we look inside and we go, why is my life a mess? What have I been manifesting? What have I been buying with my thoughts? The currency of our life. You see, faith says spend money wisely. And I take those thoughts and I spend them on the goodness of God. I see that beautiful outfit. This one looks good. I'll take that. I see this lamp, and I said, oh, that one was ugly, but I'm choosing this one. I'll take that, and I choose this piece of furniture, and before you know it, there's beauty in my life because I've chosen the all good, the pathway, and I've spent my money wisely. I've thought wisely. I exercised my belief wisely. I put my faith into action wisely. And I have that which I believe for in my life. How many of you remember the story of the little engine that could? You remember that? I love that. I grew up in Kenya, and I would take the train as a child. We would go to Mombasa from Nairobi. It was an overnight train, and I could hear that click, 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 click of the engine going, or the wheels going on the tracks. And I could hear that wonderful sound, a little bit of vibration rocking. We had a sleeping car, and I'd crawl in bed at 6 o'clock at night after dinner. They'd unfold the beds down, so we'd crawl in, go to bed early because we were going to wake up at 6 o'clock and be at the beach. Ooh, fun. Click, 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 click. It said, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. It seemed this wonderful noise that was there that just began to ignite an energy. And I want to tell you, in that little simple story of the engine that thought it could, is this wonderful power of faith that says, I believe, I believe, I believe, I think I can, I think I can, I know it's possible. All things are working together for good. I can do all things through the awareness and understanding of the Christ within me, anointing me and giving me my highest understanding. And there's a power within me that strengthens me. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. I believe. You see, it's the power of your faith that Jesus said, as you believe, so shall you receive. Church, today the call is for us to be faith-filled believers. This means we got to fill up with faith. The tank has got to be filled. You can't run on empty. Because if you're moving out into this world every single day and you're living from the perspective that I'm somewhat limited and that I can't always believe and I doubt I can, I doubt I can, I doubt I can, is not going to get you anywhere. It's got to be filled to the fullness, to the brim. And then when you have that power, your engine begins running. You turn on this wonderful energy of faith at work in your life to do the miraculous. And you're ready for this wonderful holy push. Not a force, but it's almost as if the God behind you is pushing you along, moving you so that you're moving from one side to the other with grace and ease because you're in complete knowing God is at work. The divine is at work in you, through you, around you, and for you. Are you ready to be filled with faith? Amen.